So I live in London now. When I first moved to London, for the first 3 months, I lived in a hostel in North London because my life's amazing. If you guys have never lived in a hostel before, it's quite a weird concept. Basically, you sleep in a room with a bunch of strangers, a lot of which who are leaving the country the next day, with your iPad. Long story short, I'm selling iPads, like if anyone's interested, good price. But the main rule of the hostel was essentially like you can't bring people outside of the hostel inside, which means that I couldn't take girls back for sex. Mainly because of my personality. I only found out they had that rule until after I left the hostel, but generally it's a great time to be here in Monopoly Town. I wish they made Monopoly more of an honest representation of London by just throwing a lot of pret-a-manges on the board, taking away the free parking, and someone's had some fines. Anytime you go to a certain part of the board, other players try to kill you. In 2019, there was 15,000 stabbings in London, and the reason why there's so many stabbings essentially is something called postcode wars, which is when people live in a certain area of London, and people come from another area of London to visit there, and then they kill them for it. Basically, they hate tourism. But my favorite thing about London is how multicultural we are. There's people from all different cultures, races, classes, cultures, living largely in harmony. But there's a lot of people like the London gangs that spend the majority of their time with people who look like them, think like them, or from the same place they're from. But we learn the most and develop the most from people who are different from us. One of my friends is a dominatrix. I can give you a number. Another friend I have is serving in the military. One of my best friends is Jesus. He's an Australian guy that I met at the hostel. He's a fun Jesus. He has brown skin, like a long beard, so he looks like what Jesus would actually look like, coming from a place like the Middle East. Plus he gives poignant speeches and has 12 people that follow him around. Yeah, when I told my parents that I found Jesus in the hostel, they were so happy, they were so proud. Oh my God, great, a positive influence. And he is a positive influence to do more LSD. But he's easily one of the greatest teachers I've ever had about people. So he taught me that pretty much everyone regularly struggles with insecurities. Everyone has parts of themselves or their life or themselves that they don't like. You can't ever get rid of it. But it's a choice to focus on. If you choose to focus on the things you like about yourself and your life, you feel pride and happiness. If you focus on the things you don't like about yourself and your life, you feel insecure. Now this concept applies to most things. If you focus on the things you don't like about a particular group, you will react negatively. If you focus on the things you do like about a particular group, you will react positively.
I'm the heckler, by the way.
Focus goes, energy flows.
I'm verified. I'm very good at it. I won't mess him up too much.
Thank you. There is a
I got more laughs there talking about you to those two guys. Look,
there is a reason they don't hand out microphones at the front door, and this is the reason.
What? The reason what?
It's not a two-party thing. But I appreciate that you're trying to get involved. Cheers, bud. I feel like my dad has sent you. Thanks for coming.
He didn't bring you up very well, did he?
But yeah, so essentially,
He didn't teach you to tell jokes.
I appreciate. I'm trying to do this right now.
I need better at that. Go on, you're not very good. I'll leave you. I don't want to hurt you.
Essentially, where focus goes, energy flows. What I'm trying to say is, I think the world would be a much better place.
That was me, by the way.
If more people did acid with Jesus. I just want to say quickly that I did acid before 1960 when it was legal. I don't know, and another good thing about the hostel is that you don't need porn to see two strangers having sex. Like on my second night at the hostel, there was a guy and girl having sex in the bunk bed across from me. And there was a guy in the room masturbating to it. I'm not proud of it, Just happened.
Were you the one?
Yes, that
I
was
thought
the
so.
punchline. Thank you. A little bit late, but I do appreciate your trying to get involved. So I appreciate that.
You do look like one.
Hey, you know what? I'm Geordie. Maybe I didn't have subtitles. That's fair enough. I think
There you are.
that's why I'm here. I appreciate it. I
No,
appreciate
that's why
you
I'm
coming.
here. Go on, carry on, Gov.
The promoter is there if you'd like a microphone.
Huh?
Yeah, you
What,
can.
do you want me to go on the mic? Good. I'm very bad. I'm very good at bad jokes. Yeah. And quite
the only
obscene
rule is
ones.
you need jokes.
Not
You
politically
can't-
correct
you can't
at all. I
improv
don't
it.
give a
You
fuck about
actually-
that.
But yeah, starting from the show. So essentially, sex isn't something that people should be embarrassed about. And the first time that I did sex to the girls was a lot like the first time I ever performed at a gig. I was nervous.
Very badly.
I wasn't really. But you're really interrupting the show now. I appreciate that you're trying to help, and from a heckler perspective,
No,
you're
no,
like,
no, no,
but this
carry
is
on.
just distracting at this point. But I
I'm
appreciate
giving you
it.
material.
From this point, you're taking away the show. But you were good at the start, yeah. So
No, I'm not.
yeah, and it was very. So I was nervous. I wasn't really sure what I was doing. I had to wait for the other guys there to finish. It was a gangbang. I first started doing the sex.
At least it stopped
to the
people
girls
chatting.
when
They
I
were all
was
chatting
19.
there. They were having a good
Like, it took me
conversation.
such a long time to get the money together. I've lost a little bit of momentum, but I can keep going. Yes, how much time do I have left?
You ran out about 3 minutes ago.
I ran out 3 minutes ago. You know what? I'm going to put some of that down on the heckler.
4 minutes ahead.
Do you need my help?
So, no, I'm good.
You seem like you're fading again. They're talking again.
Amazing.
Don't get them talking. I don't want you in trouble.
So guys, I just want to say, if anyone here wants to follow me after this gig, it's at Andrew Tubman2 on Twitter, or you can just search Andrew Tubman on Tinder, Bumble, or AshleyMadison.com.